Support for Headline Humboldt is made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Coming up on Headline Humboldt, all good things come to an end. And because of cuts made by President Donald Trump and the GOP in Congress, this will be the final episode of Headline Humboldt. We'll be joined by local political commentator Eric Kirk to consider the moment, weigh the stakes, and highlight the long, slow strangling of free speech that's now underway in these once United States. Coming up one last time on Headline Humboldt.
From the top of Humboldt Hill, this is Headline Humboldt. I'm James Faulk. Thanks for joining us. This will be the final episode of Headline Humboldt because President Donald Trump has decided that public media en masse represents a threat to his regime, that the free flow of information without agendas or the pressure for profit is toxic to the MAGA worldview. Because of politics, our federal funding has been eliminated. News is often the first to go, as it's not absolutely necessary for this station's survival, so I have been laid off. Rather than complain about that development, about my new status as one more unemployed reporter in a world that values fact less and less, I want to focus on something positive, my experience here at Key TV. When I got hired here years ago, I was still in the painful process of trying to recover my dignity and career after having lost everything to addiction. I hadn't expected the opportunity to once again report the news. It all seemed like a lost cause. And I was hired here to do traffic, place promos and underwriting spots between programs, because aside from my experience as a reporter, I'd long worked on the technical and practical sides of broadcast television. But it wasn't long before my boss at the time, Mark Hausholter, and our general manager, David Gordon, asked me to step in and interview a congressman. I did that, not expecting much, and the rest has been the slowly unfolding history of this show. Along the way, I produced a documentary, Addicts Among Us, that gave me an opportunity to tell my story, address personal trauma, and reinvent myself. All that's ensued over these past 6 years has been a kind of miracle, a new life and a new opportunity to help serve this community that I've come to love so much. Key gave me that. And for the moment at least, the broader mission of this station and most of its employees remains intact. So while I personally will no longer work here, I'm hoping that this community will rally around this station, keep it alive and thriving, and make its survival a way to strike back at the forces of tyranny and ignorance that would so cavalierly see it doomed. Dig deep and support this station, folks. The people here, my coworkers, are among the best and brightest this community has to offer. And as long as it still stands, as long as they keep broadcasting the kind of news and information that makes us all a little safer, stronger, and smarter, what better way is there to spite Donald Trump? Our guest today is friend of the show, attorney Eric Kirk. We'll talk politics, say what we think, and keep our small town resistance alive. But first, the news. Folks were rousted from their homes this Tuesday evening when an 8.8 magnitude earthquake off the coast of Kamchatka, Russia, set off tsunami alerts across the Pacific Rim. While the earthquake produced only minor turbulence in local coastal waters, people were rattled when their phones lit up and declared the crisis. Folks at the National Weather Service were up all that night monitoring events and keeping the public informed. The tsunami warning was downgraded early Wednesday to a tsunami advisory, and an all clear was issued later that day. Originating at a depth of roughly 20 kilometers, the earthquake, among the 10 strongest in recorded history and the largest worldwide since 2011, caused building damage and injuries in the largest nearby city, just 119 kilometers from the epicenter. We'll be right back with Eric Kirk after this short break.
I have 28 yellow buttons in my button collection.
My 3-year-old was inspired by Carl to ask for a button collection for Christmas. I posted Naomi opening her presents.
A button collection! This was just what I wanted!
And the video really touched people's hearts. We started to get packages every day of buttons from people from around the world. It's hard to believe this huge community formed over Carl the Collector. PBS Kids makes shows that connect us.
We know that your car is not just a car, it's a trusted companion, a time capsule full of memories, adventures, and unbelievable stories. Letting go of a vehicle you love is difficult, but knowing it will support a cause you believe in makes it much easier. Donate your car, truck, motorhome, or even classic car to public television and support quality programming the entire community can enjoy. We'll even send a tow truck to pick it up at no cost to you. Call or donate online.
Eric Kirk, thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the bittersweet honor of being on your last show.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you, and we always have substantive conversations about politics and whatnot, and truth be told, I think politics is what killed this show. If we hadn't gotten the funding cut, I would still be doing this for once a week for at least the foreseeable future. But I mean, let's start with, obviously, this country is in a state of crisis. I think we can all kind of admit that if we don't have blinders on. And you know, the latest manifestation of that, which has ended in the loss of my job, is the White House's relationship with media and media's actions, you know, independently of the White House, and how they've been kind of pivoting around his, you know, his stance on free speech and everything else. What do you think the state is of, you know, media in this country as it relates to the White House, and where are they failing, do you think?
Well, I mean, certainly I think they get too caught up in his narrative. I mean, from the beginning, I think that they follow him around too much. Whoops, apologies for that. Whenever he posts something on Truth Social, it's news. Yeah. They've done this from the beginning. The warnings about that go back to as far as like 2010 when he was posting, even before he was into politics. They were giving him way too much airtime, you know, because he was entertaining and all. And so, you know, everything was a story. He didn't even have to raise as much money as everybody else because he gets free airtime.
He's constantly the center of attention.
And so they do that, and then they cover it in just a complete way that just helps his narrative with it. And then it's just, I mean, I do blame the media in part for, not totally, there's plenty of other blame to go around. But in 2016, and for how close it was in 2020. I mean, Biden did pull it out, but it shouldn't have been that close. And again, in 2024. And so, but this time it's even worse because we have institutions caving to him. Yeah. Universities, Congress, the Supreme
Paramount,
Court,
right? I mean,
and now Paramount settling a case that they couldn't have lost with regard to 60 Minutes, and now firing Colbert, you know, which is not going to silence Colbert. It's not even, but it was just a pandering thing.
Which is, I mean, it's gross because it used to be the job of the media to play sort of watchdog for the political, you know, operators, but since all the media agencies are owned by big corporations who have their hands in so many pots, they have to be careful of their profit in so many other sectors. Like, Paramount's looking for a merger, so they're worried about their relationship with the White House, so they're cushioning relationships all around the board. So they're that kind of you know, deal seeking ends up affecting how they approach the news more broadly, and that's
right.
gross,
Well, they said it was a financial decision, but it wasn't because Colbert was losing money. He was the #1 spot there. It's just the financial decision was they didn't want the merger interfered with. You know, but other financial decisions that people make is they don't want to lose funding. That's why law firms were caving. And I'll tell you, if a law firm isn't going to stand up for themselves, why would I expect they'll stand up for me? I would not go to any of those law firms.
And they're even agreeing to do pro bono work for the administration later on sometimes, in order, as part of their agreements that they sign. I mean,
and this to me is the most dangerous aspect of it. It's not so much that somebody wants to be an authoritarian. There are plenty of political figures who would love to be an authoritarian if they could, including him. And he's not the only one. And there are even people in all parties that would like to do it privately if they could. It's the fact that people are caving to him, and institutions are caving to him. And you know, people have asked me, they say, do you think the Republic will survive? And I always tell them, I believe the Republic will survive. But at this point, where normally I would say, there's that line from that General Groves gives in Oppenheimer, where they were taking bets as to whether or not a chain reaction could be caused by the bomb that would ignite the whole atmosphere, which is insane. And they said it's near zero.
Small percent.
It's near zero. And General Groves says near zero. It says, and Oppenheimer says, well, what do you want from theory? And General Groves says zero would be nice. And so, but I've always said it's never zero, because anything can happen when you've got power. There's no guarantees.
Yeah.
We're an old democracy with a lot of years of liberty as an ideal and as an aspiration and strong institutions that have always gotten in the way. There have been moments, McCarthyism, Palmer after World War I. There have been moments of
threat, right? Real risk.
Yes, of risk. But it's never gotten to the point where the institutions of the separations of power and the checks and balances have been this badly strained.
Yeah.
And we've got Congress that is completely abdicated. Just completely, the majority of it. There's just no dissent of any meaningful way in the Republican majority in both of the houses, and even the Democrats just aren't putting up the right kind of fight. It's all rhetorical. And the rest. Democrats have been putting up some real fights. I will say I haven't been a fan of our governor, but he has actually.
He has come out swinging on multiple occasions.
He has, and the mayor of Los Angeles and a few other figures like that around the country. But for the most part, no. So there's been that. The Supreme Court just seems to be abdicating on all the issues of power, of checks and balances, even if Congress put limitations on it and the
they seem to have
power.
accepted this whole idea of the unitary executive. It seems like, maybe the Federalist Society was picking candidates precisely for that purpose, but they've consolidated a lot of power in the executive that was used to not be consolidated.
And it's almost like it's right out of Hobbes' Leviathan. The Supreme Executive under that is there, and it's just, and that's what a lot of people want. They want the strong centralized leader. The only resistance I see institutionally at the federal level are the district courts. And fortunately, the Supreme Court can only hear about 150 cases a year, so they can't overturn everything, right? So that is a very real resistance. But anyways, getting back to the point is, I've always told people, given decimal points, there's always a chance, but under 1% chance that it will do it. Now I have to say, it's 1 to 5% chance that the republic falls. It's still 95% to 98%. I still would say, it's going to happen, but it's at a point now where I can't say that with all of this weird stuff happening. If you look at the history of authoritarianism, these are the types of things that have happened. If you look at not just Germany and Italy, those are extreme examples, so we don't like to say that because people roll their eyes.
Making the comparison to
right, but
Germany,
but I would say likely compared to Perón. Argentina, circa the same time. Marcos in the Philippines. You could Papa Doc and Baby Doc. You can look at other regimes, and it wasn't as totalitarian as the German and Italian regime, but still, as you talk about, no functional governing for a longest period of time. We are in danger of that. Again, I think we've got traditions and values that I think Americans will stand up to. And I think there's actually been a line drawn within MAGA itself. They do seem to have drawn the line with children, with the protection of children. We'll see where that goes.
Bringing up Epstein, though, that's an interesting issue for Trump at this moment. He's obviously afraid of something in that space because he has made a lot of mistakes in the way that he's talked about it. He's insulted his own followers who insist on asking questions. The podcaster, what's his name? The guy who got him elected.
Rogan?
Rogan has actually said, this is ridiculous, you need to tell us what's in the tapes.
And Tucker Carlson. All of a sudden I like him a little bit.
At least on that front, right? He's commanding it. So, but my question is, he's a second-term president. Ostensibly ostensibly doesn't have a third term.
Right.
But everyone's acting like he does, or like his political capital is endless. Do you think that even that could limit his impact if something were to come out where he was on the list? Because just being on the list doesn't necessarily prove anything beyond association.
I mean, and that scares me, is that the Republicans are not acting like they have to run for re-election. Now, that could just be hubris.
Yeah.
But they are definitely not acting like they have to run for re-election.
But they're going to ever be held accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I would have thought he would have had this cleared up by now, because most of MAGA usually just fall in line.
Yep.
But they aren't.
And he's really, like you were saying before, he's a genius at changing the subject.
Yep.
People run around and publicize his every tweet so that whenever he gets in a corner, he just does something else that's absolutely outrageous, and then everyone pivots, and then he goes about doing whatever he needs to do.
And for
that
the
doesn't
first
seem to be working.
time since 2015, it's not working.
Yeah.
He's got followers that have been with him through all of these things that are saying, no, these are children.
Yeah.
Those are children that they were doing. And if he's planning to pardon Maxwell, if she'll come out and just point at Democrats and maybe a few sacrificial lamb Republicans, that's not going to fly over well, because she participated in sex that is deviant, right? I mean, she's not just a business person.
Sex trafficking of minors for her boss and whoever else were his associates.
It was, so that's not
How
going
could you pardon that, right? That would be the question. No matter what.
I mean, it's just, so I don't know how he handles this. And yes, it could impact. It's the elections were so close.
Yeah.
I mean, in all of the battleground states, it was so close.
One thing that's interesting that I've been watching with some interest, and we've talked about it here in the crew, about the claim among some Democrats that the election was stolen. Now, obviously, we hear that and we all want to roll our eyes because of January 6th, and all the rumors led to this big violent uprising, and it was patently ridiculous.
Yeah.
This time around, though, there are some statistical issues, I guess, with some of the counties where it was not representative of how the vote had gone in the past. Some things that make people really suspicious.
The fact that the Democratic candidates for senator got hundreds of votes and Harris got 0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you have you done any research on those things? What do you think, and how would it? I mean, if the Republicans are acting like they're not going to be held accountable, that might explain why they think so, because they won't have to face a real vote total.
It would do that. The questions I ask. First of all, don't go out on that because if you don't have a smoking gun, it's not worth losing political capital.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just it might as well be a JFK conspiracy theory or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a second gunner, but if you don't got it, just don't bother. Mm-hmm. Secondly, weird things can happen. It could have been some type of software malfunction that led to these things, not necessarily designed, because why would they do that in the state of New York when they lost New York badly? I mean, as usual.
Exactly, yeah. New York was one of the counties that had a weird vote total, and they didn't win the state, so I don't know why it would have been appropriate to do so.
It didn't do them any good, so why did they do it there? They haven't found any anomalies in any state that matters.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting question. Why did this happen? And their answers are, well, these are Hasidim. They vote as blocks. Well, they didn't vote as a block for the senators. Mm-hmm. So and when there aren't really clear answers, it raises more questions. But I need a lot more before I jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah, it's when Elon Musk was involved in the election, and he has such a handle on the tech industry and some of the claims that he was making. Yeah, it makes one suspicious, but that's not enough to go on if you're going to make your... I mean, the question is, what are Democrats not doing in terms of convincing the electorate that Donald Trump is not the right choice, even if they're not the right choice either? You know what I mean? Like, they're not prosecuting an argument against Trump effectively. And we were talking before the show about the recent election in New York.
Mondami, and they don't like his politics. He's a self-identified socialist.
Yeah.
He's
and the Democrats have basically thrown their hands up in the air. Their hair's on fire.
They won't endorse him.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, what is it? Blue, no matter what, or they're not following that. They're endorsing Cuomo, even though he's running as an independent, not blue, right? Or they're endorsing Eric Adams, who's even a distant third behind, maybe even fourth behind Sliwa. The Republican guy, and so it's but But that's not even the question. The fact is they're freaking out about it, that this guy got elected, without asking themselves why this guy got that nomination. And there aren't that many socialists in New York City. He didn't get nominated because he was a socialist. He got nominated because he took a lesson from Trump. And took a lesson from other candidates that have won that way. James Carville in 1992 had a sign up above his head, "The economy's stupid," right? And he stayed focused and talked about everyday issues, about the suffering. He didn't talk about statistics. Oh, the economy's good because on paper. He talks about what is rent and what the big issues are.
Yeah, people's experience in living and
right. And when they were asked the question at the debate, well, what's the first country you would visit as mayor? They're all saying, Israel, and I forget what the other one said. It got to him, and he said, I'm going to be elected mayor of New York. I don't need to go to another country, certainly not right away. I need to address the issues in New York, so I don't know that I'll be going to another country while I'm mayor. And they loved that answer. I mean, it was just, and he also speaks frankly. He goes in, he's not afraid to go in and be interviewed for long periods of time, and he sometimes says things not perfectly, makes mistakes, but he gets forgiven for it because he is there looking his interviewer in the eye and answering questions, not from a script.
Yeah, he doesn't look robotic, he looks human.
He looks human.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's on the street talking to people, and he doesn't, he takes a stand on things and isn't polling for his stand and isn't holding back because because donors might not like it or because they're trying to be something for he's trying to be something for everybody.
Yeah. Do you see anyone in the Democratic field right now who could do that in terms of the next presidential election?
Any one of them could do it if they would do it.
Do it and sell it, though. I mean, because sometimes they try it and they come off looking wooden or
No, it has to be be earnest. It has to be.
Tim Walz,
real.
I mean, he had, I thought, some authenticity.
He did, and he just needs to study up a little more. His debate performance was okay, but he needs to, would need to shore that up. He's a great guy to do that. I mean, they're probably all of them. Probably Harris could have done it if they would have let her do it. She was doing fine until, she killed him in the debate. That was a low point for Trump. After that, it went south. Because they're afraid of she might say something that might not be perfect. That she might make promises. That she wasn't allowed to say anything about Israel. What her real thoughts were. I know that she was holding back on that. She couldn't criticize Biden or differentiate herself from Biden,
which was a huge mistake. I mean,
which was a huge mistake.
Because people wanted change, and she wasn't able to talk to it.
She couldn't do it. They wouldn't let her do it. I mean, and all she kept saying was a wink and a nod. I hear you, right? And that wasn't enough. And so, there were a lot of things that she could have done. There are. I imagine there are others. Newsom has always hit me as a suit. But when he says, come on, tough guy, go ahead and arrest me, to Homan. I mean, that's out there. That's right
and
there.
There's not that many people who are out there throwing punches. I mean, literally doing so. And I think that it's been gratifying to watch Newsom do some of that. I think there's been an absence of that among the Democrats. And in 2016 we had. I feel like there was a choice. It was one of those quantum moments. We could have either gone the Bernie Sanders route or we're going to go the Donald Trump route. The country had decided that it wanted to break the history and go somewhere else. And we decided to elect Hillary as Democrats and not Bernie. And so the country decided to take the more dramatic, stark route, and they elected Trump.
They should nominate somebody who's not afraid to go on Fox News. So far, the two of them that are not afraid to go on Fox News are Bernie Sanders, but he's already said, I'm too old. I can't do this anymore. And the other one is Buttigieg.
Yeah, Buttigieg. And I've always liked Buttigieg. I think that he's, it'll be interesting to see if the country's ready for that kind of candidacy. I mean, obviously half the country right off the top won't be, and that would be hateful to have to sit through an election where that was the subtext. But,
maybe, but it's but I don't know. Maybe they would respect him. I don't know.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who vote for him who haven't come all the way on that particular issue of a sexual orientation, but they vote for him anyway. So it's just it sometimes it happens that way. You gotta go for it at a certain point.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, a lot of people would make the argument that we need a white guy.
Well, he is white, but
I mean, like in terms of white male, like because
I know.
it's like Kamala Harris. Some people think she lost because she's a woman. I don't know if that's true or not.
It was probably a factor.
Yeah.
It was certainly a factor with some of the men, some of the younger men.
Yeah, and it's like it's gross that you have to even consider those kinds of arguments, but that's the world that we live in.
But it also may have been a wash because it may have gotten more women out there to vote who were empowered. So we don't know. We don't it empowering versus the backlash.
Yeah, and again, I think that redounds to the Democrats' larger problem, which is always overthinking everything and trying to take the safe route and do the right choice. It's like find someone who is authentic, who makes a real argument and does it from their heart. Yeah, and that's what you need to win. And until you find someone like that, we're going to continually lose, and who is that person going to be for the next election? I'm not sure we know yet.
Now, Carville, who I respect in many respects, but he and a few others are saying right now there is no leader of the Democratic Party. I don't know that right now the party needs a leader. I think it needs a bunch of people who are better spokespeople than Chuck Schumer getting up and talking about avocados and guacamole and in the most boring speech ever, or Nancy Pelosi, or any of them. And there's old and there's old. I mean, somebody tried once told me, well, you when we were talking about Biden being too old, well, he's younger than Bernie Sanders. There's old and there's old. Bernie Sanders is still doing layups in basketball and shows up and is as sharp as a whistle on Fox News. Just runs circles around those people. Biden can't do that. There's a difference. It caught up with him sooner than it caught up, and it's just. But there's also old school and not being willing to change once you've got things. And then there's also just being completely beholden to donors. And it may be that Democrats today are more beholden to donors than Republicans. I hate to say that, but that might be true.
Yeah, and that might be some of the root of our problem.
Yeah.
That's it for this week. That's it for Headline Humboldt. It's been an honor over the past 6 years to be on this show, to bring news to you every week, to meet with people like Eric and do this show. So thank you so much. Stay tuned, stay informed, check out Neon Galactic, and here's one. Good night, good luck.